Hello guys, in this video we are going to talk about configuration. I'll start with very basic. I have here a Git tree and I'm going to check out the first commit, and you can see here what we are going to go into. So I'll start with the basic hard-coded configuration. You can see here it's very simple. I have an application here or script where I want to have three different variables: name, age, and country. And simply I'm just printing them here. If name is equal to main, print name and age and country. If I just run this script, you can see the output as expected. Now, the idea here with configuration is that controlling those variables is not that easy. Also, we don't like to combine data with logic in the script. So let's go into the next improvement of this. I'll just put this here. So now let's use a dictionary instead of many variables. I found this is like a transient way to manage the configuration, where you can see here that I have just moved the variables to a dictionary. It makes it easy to put them like in a wrapper, a dictionary that's wrapping my configuration. So now I have single object which carries all my configuration. Maybe I will add another configuration here with certain value here, and then use it in a different place. But now for the current situation, we still have this data as hard-coded here in the script. So we will improve it further to read the configuration from a JSON file. And to do this, let me just reset changes and move to this commit. So the change now is that we have made those variables as values inside a configuration.json file. So if you can see here, I have here my configuration JSON file. I have moved the data to a different file outside of the script. So now you can see name, age, and country are in JSON file. They are not anymore hard-coded in the script. And the way that I'm reading them is to import JSON. I open the file and then just JSON.load. So I got all the configuration as JSON. We can maybe print his. Let's print the configuration here. Okay. So you have this is the dictionary, and we still use the dictionary for accessing this data. But now let's assume that I have manipulated the configuration in a bad way, and I've just get a bad configuration here. Let's see what I've done in the bad configuration. You can see I've removed those old values, but now I have an integer name or a text age or a country that does not exist. So what this may change my application, when I just run the code, you can see that this configuration has get into the script normally, but in most cases we don't like to put those let's say bad values. I don't want to make an text age or an integer name. So I have to do some validation here. I have to check the values and maybe raise some exceptions if the values is not as I have wanted to. So in the change that we are going to do here in manual validation, we are going to check each one of those values. For example, if the name is not a string, I want to raise an exception. If the age is not integer, I want to raise an exception. If the country is one of those disallowed countries, I want to raise an exception. Or in reverse, maybe I have a database that contains all the countries in the world, and I want to check whether the configured country is in the allowed countries. So this is what I'm going to do. So let's try to check this out. Now we are going to do the manual validation. And now if we have run our simple config reader, you can see that name must be text. So the error raised. And you might want to maybe print this configuration here. It is now config.name. You just put this here. And so name must be text. Oh, sorry. It is now this value. Okay, let's use this. Sorry. Okay, so name must be text. It is now 31, which is wrong. So now we have a simple validator for our configuration, but you can see that we can go on and on because configuration has different levels. You might want to override some configuration, and as a configuration has certain features that you might want to implement. So all of this have been already implemented in a Python module that is called Dynaconf, which is what we want to go into today. So let's use Dynaconf and see what have been changed. I'll just show you the changes. Actually, I've just omitted all the previous code. So let's look at the main function first. So it's just config, read config, and then you can use it like this, or you can use it as dictionary. Now config is an object. But look at the way that Dynaconf is reading the configuration. First, I've just imported the Dynaconf and validator objects from Dynaconf module. And then you can see here settings is equal to Dynaconf, and I've just passed the settings files. So you can even pass more files. And I'm still using my configuration.json file. And here I've just registered the validators of my data. So the way you do this is to put settings.validators.register, and for each configuration item you have to add a validator. So the validator name, first thing is it must exist. We didn't check this before. It must exist. So if it's not there, there's an exception will be raised. And the second thing that it is a type of string. So we're checking the type. Now we add age, it's type of integer, and we can add more validators, more conditions, like it's greater than 0 and maybe less than 100. And a validator countries must exist, and it is not in this list. So you can see it's so simple and straightforward usage. Actually, you have to have a look on the validation document here for Dynaconf. It contains lots of choices. You can see here in the end of this list, there is many things you can validate on. So for example, you can validate equality, not equal, greater than, is type of something, is in a list, not in a list, etc. And you can add your own condition. Actually, you can just make a validator with your own condition, and you can add a condition for the validator, like when a certain condition met, do this validation. So everything here in the documentation, I just want to show the basics of this validation thing. So let's go here next to the next step, which we are going to talk about a feature in Dynaconf that can allow us to make different configuration for different environments. So what environments mean is that, for example, you might have some values for production and another values for development mode. So in production, for example, I want the country to be USA, I want the name to be different, but in development mode, I don't want those values to go in. for example, I have an IP address for my database in development, but I have different database in production. So let's go into the environments here. So first, let's look at the JSON file. It's now different. It's now nested. The keys here are the environment names. So this is the default environment. Then I have development, production. This is an arbitrary names, but yeah, you can change it as you want. So this is the name, age, country for each one. And you can now jump from an environment to another one. Now let's have a look at the changes here. I've just have environments true, and I've specified some environment here. So now let's have a look. If I have run this code, you can see that now I have different name and country because I'm using now the development environment. But if I have just removed this, actually I want to show this feature where you have the ability to export an environment variable. It's a special variable called environment for Dynaconf, and you can pass here whatever environment you want. So for example, I'm passing here the production environment, and if I have run the code again, you can see that the values now are different because the production environment configuration is different. You can see it like this. We can add as much environments as we want, but it might sound not so practical. So this is environment 3, and I have here name 3 and age 3, maybe country 3. Okay, so if I've just run the code, nothing changed, but if I change this, so it's now environment 3, you can see the values now are changed. So this is basically environments. You can even change some validators based on environments. You can make some variable must exist in certain environment and maybe must not exist in another environment. But basically, this is it about environment. Now I want to move to another feature, which is Dynaconf is able to read different kinds of configuration files. So there's a kind of file that is called TOML files. It's pretty maybe simpler to write, maybe simpler than JSON. So let's go here to see the TOML. I've actually removed the JSON file and created TOML file, but you can still see the difference. So in JSON we have those curved parentheses and it's nested like this. In TOML it's more maybe simpler, where you can put the key here, and it's a kind of a dictionary where you have a level, and you can make it a nested dictionary, but I have here this default key, and those values now are here. So I have here default, development, production. So it's pretty simple, and there's a straightforward converters from JSON to TOML. Now here I've just changed the JSON to TOML, and it's the same functionality. Okay, last thing, this is the benefit of separating logic from configuration, is now I can use this configuration in many apps. If I have just put the code, the configuration in the code, I have to import this variable to a different file, or if I am using another application, I have to rewrite it. But here I want to show a feature, or let's say a benefit from separating this configuration from logic. So this is the last point, and here I have made a very simple tkinter example. We have here the same configuration, and here I have the configuration viewer application. It's a straightforward tkinter, but here I have 3 labels. I made the username, age, and country in a visual view. So now if I have run this code to view the tkinter thing, oh, this is tkinter view, you can see here the username, the age, and country, and they are the same that the other application is using. So if I've just changed this, put some some other name. So you can see here that the application responded because it's reading the same configuration file. So this is a benefit of using a separated configuration file, and I strongly recommend you to go into the documentation. Unfortunately, the LLMs, AIs are not so good at writing Dynaconf configuration, so you have to figure it yourself. But it's as you have shown before, it's straightforward in some parts, in the basic parts. So you can just go and play around, put settings files, put some maybe overridden variables. I didn't talk about this. You can see here environment variables. You can override some internal configuration with environment variables, and you can do validations. You can use some CLI validators. And I found this a very good module, and we are actually using it in different production environments. So this is everything for today. Thank you for watching.